Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board meeting of June 4th, 2024. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Strauss, former military, could you lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could please remain standing for a moment of silence, as we just came through Memorial Day recently, and we come up on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Let's keep in mind all of our troops that have fought so hard for our freedoms and made America the great country that it is. Thank you. And if I could ask all of the veterans to remain standing for one moment, if everyone else could sit down. I'd like to acknowledge those that have fought for our country and thank God for their safety and welcome home. Thank you. Okay. Introductions starting to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Deputy Supervisor Sergio Esposito.
Councilwoman Luciana Howitt.
Councilman Patrick Murphy.
Christine Kager. I'm filling in for the Town Attorney, Adam Rodriguez.
And Dave Paganelli, Highway Superintendent.
Great. So for my report, one thing I didn't have here, I heard Mr. Lieberman, you celebrated a big milestone birthday. Happy birthday to you.
100?
Not quite.
100 and counting down.
As long as they're good years.
So a few things to go through. After our last meeting, we had that May 23rd storm that came through. I want to give a great shout out to our highway department, and also, believe it or not, to NYSEG, who their crews were amazing. They were on site within 20 minutes after the worst of the storm came through on the first part, and they were still up in bucket trucks when the second set of storms came through, and they were just doing amazing work. So, Dave, great coordination with everyone, and of course PD. I see we have Rob back there. The coordination between the groups really helped us get everything taken care of quickly. Yorktown accounted for 75% of NYSEG's power outages during that storm, and we had pretty much everything up and running by 1:30 in the afternoon. There were a couple that might have lingered a little longer as they had to turn off, but it was some amazing work. So thank you everyone who contributed there. It was great. Then we rolled into the weekend for Friday. Always a great patriotic place, Jefferson Village. Wonderful celebration. Joanne on the piano as always, which is a treat. Brian and Charlie, great job running the ceremony, and it is just so nice to be able to see the spirit of America cradled like that, and it's every time at the village, and we always enjoy being there. Thank you for putting that on. Then we went right into Memorial Day itself. We kept the Vietnam Memorial celebration behind Lakeland High School that Tom Diana started. That plaque there was dedicated by his class, and it was very, very special to him, and we were very happy to be able to keep that running. And then we went over to the World War II Memorial, where there are, I want to say 5, but it might be 6 Diana relatives on it. So another very, very special place for Tommy. And we did with the Mohegan Volunteer Fire Department. We did a ceremony there that they do every year, and that was very, very nicely done. And then we came over to Town Hall for the ceremony that we do around the monuments and the renaming of the park to the Veteran Memorials Circle. And I see we have one representative back here, our Veterans Advisory Committee. We have Bill Ritchie in the back, have worked very, very hard at trying to make sure that when we have a park and there's something special like monuments there, that it's not just, a hodgepodge of names. And it's the same thing when there's a park that's not really anything to do with veterans, that why do we slap a veteran name on there? They want to make sure that the veterans are rightfully recognized and not wastefully recognized, I think might be a good way to explain it. And there was some great work down there by the Parks and Recreation crew to get the signs up so we could unveil it. And our garden club is actually going to be redoing the garden down there. They came in with a whole plan, and it should be really, really beautiful, and we are looking forward to that. Last Friday, there was a fundraiser for the Yorktown Lion, Carl Anderson, who's a 30-year-plus member. Carl has been battling some illnesses. I want to thank all of those that attended. It was a very, very nice outpouring of public support for him and his family. On June 1st, we did the Trailway ribbon cutting. I did not go on the walk, but it was really nice to see the signs, the new signs for the Trailway by the Atomic Veterans Memorial Bridge, which is basically a bridge that was named. It's the only pedestrian bridge over the Taconic as of now, and it was named for the atomic veterans, the atomic war veterans, who dealt with the A-bomb and different atomic weapons during their time in. So very nice to see. And then one of my favorite things, we had a police swearing in on Monday. We have a new officer, Kelby Costello, and we did get a comment from a little old lady that's a friend of my wife's, who said that they think that our police department should be having their own calendar. The Men in Uniform calendar is a fundraiser for the PBA. Robbie, I did not hear your name mentioned, though. I'm sorry. But the new guys are doing great with the 80-plus crowd, just so you know. We had a promotion of one of our police officers who's been with us for a little while. Great guy, Jack Dougherty, was promoted to sergeant, and our detective sergeant, Mark Rapisarda, was sworn in as a lieutenant. Some excellent gentlemen. It's nice. Kelby is bilingual and brings a lot to the table. And of course, Mark and Jack have been doing phenomenal work for our town. So very happy to be part of those promotions and the swearing in. And good luck to you, gentlemen, and keep serving the town as great as you and the force do. Upcoming tomorrow morning is a Chamber of Commerce breakfast at the Mohegan Diner, 7:45 a.m. We have on Saturday, and Lorraine made some copies up. There's some copies in the back. We have the dedication of Granite Knolls Park, 9 a.m. If you want to come early for a little nosh, 8:30. Parks and Recreation will be providing a little nosh there. And right after that, it'll be the Tom Diana Park at Granite Knolls Recreation and Sports Complex. The park was very important for Tom. For those of you that know Tom, I know a lot of people in the room did. Tommy, for him to get behind a machine, move some dirt, and be a part of that, watching the pipes go in the ground, that was all him, and he was up there as often as he could at that park, and really, really cared about it. And I thank Diana for pushing, and Joanne and Brian and the rest of the crowd at Jefferson Village for getting that out there, getting the Parks and Rec Commission to see the community outpouring and getting that accomplished. Great job. Thank you. And then right after that, we move at 9:45 to East Main Street, as I was just talking about the World War II Memorial, also the holiday tree that Tom planted twice because the first one died, and the area that he grew up in, the area that was actually part of East Main Street, I believe at one time was part of the Diana Farm, and he worked there as a kid. We're going to dedicate that strip of highway in Tom Diana's name. Dave, thank you for getting the signs and everything taken care of there. So please come out, join us on Saturday for those two events. I think that'll be fantastic. Then we have our summer reading party is going to kick off at the John C. Hart Memorial Library Wednesday, June 26th at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And that's where people could sign up for our summer reading program. And one thing, I don't know if it's open to the public, but it should be. And I'm pretty sure that they won't have a problem with it. On Monday the 17th at 6 p.m. in the St. Pat's parking lot, one of the Boy Scout troops does a rocket night. And I know Tommy went last year to that, had a blast. They asked me if I would come. It's the ST rockets, for those of us in that age group that remember them growing up. And they do some rockets. They launch them off in the parking lot. Should be a fun time. So if you get a chance to go to that, you might enjoy that. And that's it for me.
All right. Well, just to piggyback on your comments, Memorial Day was just, a great tribute to the men and women that just didn't make it back. And the tribute at Jefferson Village was just equally astonishing and solemn, and just a great tribute. Joanne, I think you missed your calling in life. You should have been a piano player, professional piano player. You are. It's all right. So you didn't miss it. Always great to hear you play. Always great to be at Jefferson Village amongst friends, and just really, really, really hard day for many, many folk out there that just lost a child or lost a dad or something like that. So on a lighter note, the Yorktown High School varsity lacrosse team won the sectionals for like the 40-something time. So they are the Section 1 champs. And then what they did was they played in the regionals, and they won the regionals. So now they are one of 4 teams battling for the title. So their semifinals is tomorrow night. They're doing wonderful. What a great – going to these games is just electric. It's amazing. These kids don't even know how good they have it. They all want to get out of high school, but I'm like, stay in high school just, a little while longer. But, so they go into the state semis, and that is going to be tomorrow, I think at 4 o'clock.
I think so.
And it's going to be at the Albany, right? University of Albany?
It's up at Albany, yes.
Albany State. So, just keep them in mind, cheer them on. They're doing just a great job, and they're such a cohesive team. And I know a lot of the guys on the team, they're friends with my kids. They're just a great bunch of kids, and they deserve everything they've accomplished to date. I missed the swearing-in ceremony, and I just wanted to give a congratulations to newly minted Lieutenant Mark Rapisarda, Sergeant John Doherty, and P.O. Kelby Castildo. I had to take my mom to the doctor, so I couldn't be there. So two things coming up. Crumble Cookie is going to be Thursday, 10 a.m., their grand opening and ribbon cutting. And Pure Presence is going to be on Sunday at 1 p.m. at the Jefferson Valley Mall. So we got 2 new businesses coming in town. We got a whole bunch of other businesses that opened, and we're waiting for them to schedule their grand opening, so this way we could all give them the pomp and circumstance they deserve for coming to Yorktown and investing here. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Lou, before you
Okay.
go, I forgot to give a shout out to Diana and actually Jan Marchandini that they did a veterans presentation. Yeah. That was presented at the village, and is that on TV now as well? Not yet. Okay. Yep. But very, very nice job, and a great tribute to our fighting forces from the village, those with us and those that passed. So thank you. Lou? Sorry, Lou.
No, it's great. Okay, so summer is almost here. So big shout out to all the students in our school districts as they're wrapping up and they're heading to the last month of school. I know that I have two students, Zoe and Emma Zigarelli, that are very excited that I'm here at the town board meeting. So I know that they're watching us today, aspiring to be leaders of this town. The Relay for Life is taking place on the 14th. Setups around the 3rd, so if you feel like being a helping hand, come on out. The Survivor actual dinner is around 5:30, but the opening ceremony is at 7. The 7 o'clock will lead into the walk. It takes place right here at the Jack DeVito Memorial Field. Please come out and be part of it. I know that Ed mentioned the summer reading, just so that you know that on June 26th, you and your children or your children can sign up for summer reading. They have summer reading for all of us, and that's always great. On the 20th, the Garden Club is actually hosting a solstice dinner at Barnwood here in Somers. If you go on some of these websites, you'll find ways to connect with other community members and also maybe take part in a plant or two or maybe an activity or two to get more involved and to expand. And on the 30th, we're launching our concerts, right, Ed?
Yes, yes.
And Probable Cause is the first one up?
Probable Cause is the first one. You can go to Lions Summer Concerts, look them up online. I know it's Parks and Rec has it also as their partnership. And
Yeah.
some great shows, including our military tribute, which is the last Sunday in August before Labor Day. And Alyssa Martin will be doing her World War II memorial songs and a very nice time.
And also, I just want to pause in honor of Tom Diana, because as he gets named at Granite Knolls, I also complete a 4-year stunt in my somatic practice. I've expanded my career into learning more about the body and our brains and what happens in the world. And I hope that he sends me, I can hear him telling me, go after it, kid. But I hope that he sends me the juju, and I'll send good juju down here while you guys name the park after him. So I will be at my graduation from Friday to Sunday. I will send pictures.
Lou.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
Hello, everybody. So one of the benefits of going last is everything is said.
It's true.
I
remember that seat.
They clicked the box on everything. So I just hopefully everybody had a great Memorial Day. And, I missed a lot of the events over the weekend. I had a family emergency. So my prayers go out for my brother, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Thank you. All right. Dave, did you have anything?
Yeah, sure. I always have something. So
I could tell because you were wearing a nice shirt, not
I'm
the
wearing a red
sweatshirt.
shirt, the highway shirt. So we made a bit of an error. I milled some roads and paved some roads at the same time, which basically tied up my whole department for 2 weeks. So we're a bit behind on our potholes. We have a massive infrastructure collapse on Judy Road, over 1,000 feet of pipe that's just totally shot. And this is something that, as a government, we're going to have to start looking at things that aren't staring us in the face like a pothole, but pipes under the ground when you get a hole this big and within a week it's this big because the road is collapsing. So not to be a bummer or a downer.
Debbie Downer, yes.
Debbie Downer.
You don't
so
look like a Debbie.
I don't.
No.
Fortunately, that's a good thing. So that being said, if you do have potholes or things that you need to, let us know about. So we will be getting out there once we're done with this paving. We're going to take a break for about 2 months until we figure out the finances of where we are with respect to continuing to pave. So give us a call at 962-5781 and tell us about your potholes. Wonderful. That's it. Thank you.
And Dave, I assume that means we'll be talking next week?
Yes. You call me every day for something.
That's true. All right. We'll get into proclamations. I'll read the first one. 80th anniversary of D-Day. Whereas June 6th, 2024 marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day landings and the Battle of Normandy, as well as the beginning of the end of World War II in Europe. And whereas on D-Day, an estimated 156,000 American, British, and Canadian forces advanced through the thickets of barbed wire and scaled heavily protected cliffs. They braved gales of bullets and artillery fire, taking heavy losses as they cut through Nazi defenses, resulting in one of the largest amphibious military assaults in history. And whereas 80 years later we pay tribute to the service members who secured a beachhead on an unforgiving shore, the patriots who through their courage and sacrifice changed the course of an entire century. And whereas as today we carry on the struggle for liberty and universal human rights, let us draw strength from a moment when free nations beat back the forces of oppression and gave new hope to the world. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Edward Lachterman, along with the town board of the town of Yorktown, do hereby proclaim that on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, June 6, 2024, that residents observe this day with programs, ceremonies, and activities that honor those who fought and died, so men and women they had never met might know what it is to be free. Thank you. And actually, you know what? I'm going to add something. I will ask everyone in this room that has a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a child that may not know the history of World War II to please share this with them. Operation Overlord was a huge undertaking, and there's very little in our history that compares to the bravery shown in that battle. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sergio?
Ready? Pride Month. Whereas the town of Yorktown recognizes the many contributions to our community, county, state, and nation by lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning LGBTQ individuals, which have included advancement in business, medicine, law, education, music, sports, arts, and culture. And whereas members of the LGBTQ community come from all parts of our community, regardless of color, ethnicity, religion, economic status, or gender. And whereas June is recognized as Pride Month because it marks the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall Rebellion, an event accepted as the single most important event leading to the fight for LGBTQ rights in our nation. And whereas, following the Stonewall Rebellion, demonstrations, calls for equal rights, and freedoms for members of the LGBTQ community were made across the country. And whereas on June 29th, a similar demonstration will be held to celebrate the LGBTQ members and continue the collective efforts to ensure equality, freedom, and rights of all are protected, preserved, and advanced. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the town of Yorktown recognizes and celebrates June as Pride Month. And be it further resolved, the town of Yorktown stands as a community of hope, generosity, and acceptance to everyone, regardless of religion, race, national origin, ethnicity, culture, or sexual orientation.
Thank you, Sergio. Our poet laureate is not here this evening.
I have a poem from him.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Nova writes the poem by John F. McMullen. The puppy Nova wakes me up after all. It's 6:45. It's time to go out. A robin sits where it always does at this time, at the same place, on my fence post, just watching. There is a little chill in the air, but it is very nice, and Nova gets treats for just exercising bodily functions. Just
reading.
Okay.
I'm just reading it. Okay? As the morning goes on and the sun warms us more, her mood goes from playful and wilding to resting on my lap. All seems right in the world. And tomorrow, we'll get to do it again.
Good.
By John F. McMullen.
All right.
So I kind of liked it. It was pretty funny.
All
It's a
right.
good one.
We'll jump into personnel.
Do we have to do
Huh?
for the proclamations? Do we have to do anything?
From the Human Resource Department, authorize Franz Rom Cook in the Nutrition Senior Service Department to be moved to Group 10, Step 5, at a prorated salary of $61,951.93. And this is to modify, to eliminate Group 5, keep Group 8, and add Group 10, effective June 3rd, 2024, to be paid from Yorktown CSEA Salary Schedule A. And then we're moving Franz to Group 10, Step 5, and it's prorated 32.5 hours weekly. For his new salary shall be $61,951.93. Appoint Sindhu Palakau to the position of library clerk at the John C. Hart Memorial Library to be paid $54,990 annually. Welcome aboard, Sindhu. We will appoint João Faustino as a member of the Veterans Advisory Committee. João could not be here today. He is traveling to D.C. on business, but I believe we should be able to get him in next week to introduce him, and he'll be joining Bill Ritchie on our Veterans Advisory Committee. Thank you for being here for him, Bill. I know sitting in, and we should get him introduced shortly. And can I have a motion on those?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I will also say that Lorraine in my office has done a lot of work to get all of the appointments that are up and needing to be filled for town boards onto our website. So if you are interested in joining a town board, volunteering, and being a part of the community with that work, you could either look online. There's an application right there, or you could call my office and speak with Lorraine at extension 201. Thank you. At 201. And Lorraine will help you out with that if you need some guidance in it. We have been doing some interviews, and we'll be making some more appointments over the next couple of weeks, and would like to really start to move these along and get all of those boards filled up. Right. Before we go into public comment, we have a law that, we had a public hearing on speed limits. Dave, do you want to jump in with I know we looked at some changes.
We did. I had spoken with Jay Kopstein. All right. My understanding is that we cannot lower speed limit lower than 25 miles an hour unless it is in a school zone, a hospital zone, or a library zone. That being said, I would like to ask that Rockwood Road, High Ridge, Hitching Post, Aqueduct Road all be lowered to 25 miles an hour. Also on Underhill, there was the question of from town out to Overhill would be 30 miles an hour. From Overhill to the Taconic Parkway would be 40 miles an hour. On the other side of the parkway down to 129 would be 30 miles an hour. So I would ask that that be pushed to the state so that we can get that moving along.
Well,
Also, my understanding is that I'm doing this so this doesn't just linger in space. That being said, 2 consecutive acts of legislature, similar to the alienation of parkland, all right, we could then petition the state to lower the speed limits to whatever we like. So there are some particular areas like Hitching Post where the houses are very close together, children playing in the roads, and I think that the people that have asked for those speed reductions up there, they should, understand that we're doing this in the interim with the hopes to be able to drop it to 10 or 15 miles an hour in that particular neighborhood. So that's that.
So Dave, just a question. So in the original resolution, we wanted to drop it. We wanted to go right to 20. The only thing we're changing is that we can't go to 20 right now.
Yes.
We're only changing 20 to
25.
25. Everything else is staying the same.
Correct.
Just for clarity for everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Just
Thank
that,
you.
just that area that's managed by Katona Management, Rockwood, High Ridge, and Hitching Post.
What about Woodfield? I have Woodfield Court on here also.
Woodfield there also?
Yeah.
Okay, Woodfield.
Whatever was in the original one, right? What's
So long ago, I don't even remember.
what's going on with Underhill too?
That he
I
just spoke about
just
that.
said that. Underhill's
Okay.
30 all through town,
30,
Okay.
40, 30.
and up to Hanover, and then all out to Overhill. At that point, it turns to 40. At the Taconic Parkway, it turns back to 30, okay, down to 129.
Okay.
And Dave, I know I saw a speed reduction sign in another town. We could get that for that area, correct?
We can put up signs anywhere we want if they're orange and black because they're suggestions. Correct, Rob? Thank you. That being said, particularly with the Ellington Road Bridge being closed, I've already ordered some squiggly road signs and some 15-mile-an-hour signs for Aqueduct Road, because once traffic starts coming through there,
Sure.
it's a substandard road in terms of width. So yeah, but we can do whatever we want as long as it's not black and white.
Good. And then the second draft was out. We'll have these updates. Third draft, get it posted, and then we could bring it back for a vote. Correct?
Next Tuesday if we post it.
Next
And
Tuesday, if we get it posted.
There were
tomorrow.
other items that traffic safety had recommended, some stop signs, some no parking and what have you. Can we schedule a public hearing for those?
We'd have to have the local laws drafted before we can do that.
Yeah, I see them,
It
the
would have to
signs.
be drafted so we can post and then we can do that. We can see if we can put that on for next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
I did ask Adam about getting those in as soon
Thank
as
you.
possible. All right. Open the floor for public comment. Courtesy, the floor is open. Please know that you do not have to wait till courtesy of the floor. You could always make a phone call, talk to any of us on the board. We're available by email. All of our email addresses and phone numbers are on the town website, as well as anyone sitting up at the DS, the town clerk, highway department, town attorney. Okay?
Who's first?
You could. There you go. You're going to break the ice, Susan?
Okay. Hi, good evening, Susan Siegel. I have questions about 3 resolutions on the agenda tonight. The first one is the $13,000 to update a 2018 EDR report dealing with the Alex Mill sewers. Could you tell us exactly what that 2018 report was and what updates are needed and why? The second resolution is $478,000. It's an authorization to purchase police body cameras. Like to know, is the money coming out of fund balance, or is it on the assumption that the town is going to get a grant from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice? Because there's another resolution on the agenda, and it's not clear for the New York State Division of Criminal Justice whether you are applying for that grant or you have already received that grant. So can you please clarify that? Finally, the resolution to spend $543,000 for the intersection improvements at 118 and Underhill that are related to the Underhill Farm development, and also for the supervisor to sign agreements with the developer. I'm not going to repeat the comments I made in 2023 that basically in Yorktown, it's been standard practice that developers pay the entire cost for road improvements when they have to do traffic mitigation for their developments. Instead, I want to focus on the open-ended nature of this resolution, a resolution that leaves taxpayers on the hook for even more money for the project. The resolution clearly states that it's for $543,000, and that's based on, quote, expected, close quote, costs. And while the developer's contribution towards the project is capped, the resolution also binds the town to pay the full remaining balance of the cost. What will that cost be? We don't know. We have no idea. The estimated cost that this resolution is based on comes with 2023 figures. Who knows what the cost will be in 2025 when they probably will start construction? We all deal with inflation. And will the DOT still has to approve the plans? What engineering changes will they require that will also impact the cost of the project? Who's going to bid for the job? Is it going to be the town or the developer? There are so many unknowns about what this project is going to cost. And we've already seen that your original resolution from 2023 needs to be changed. So given all these unknowns, it's very likely that you may come back to us at a future date and say, guess what? We need more money, more taxpayer money. Also, it's not clear exactly what the town is agreeing to with agreements. Is it one agreement? Is it multiple agreements? It talks about documents. We haven't seen what those agreements and documents are. We don't know what you're committing us, the taxpayers, to. Based on all of that, I respectfully ask that you put this resolution on hold, that the taxpayers need more information, we need more clarity, we need more honesty, and we need more transparency. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Not sure we were dishonest, but okay.
That's all right.
Dishonest. Me a break.
So, Sergio.
Sorry.
Good evening, Larry Killian. I'm back here again to suggest that we should stop giving tax breaks for unneeded retail and commercial space. It's increasing our vacant stores and eroding our commercial tax base. It's really a whack-a-mole policy that doesn't make sense. So last year I brought to your attention that there was a strip mall in East Main west of the lumberyard that got a 47% reduction in their assessed valuation. And of course, you know, now we have a court judgment ordering a tax cert reducing the assessed value of JV Mall by more than $1 million. A 69% reduction in assessed value. And the court judgment requires the town and the Lakeland schools to give back taxes going all the way back to 2020. Businesses make decisions to expand because it's in their interest. Lowe's, BJ's, and Staples all came to my neighborhood without any incentive. It wasn't in existence then. And it really bugs me that I'm paying taxes instead of the property owner for the gold mine that is BJ's gas. This tax break policy is particularly troubling because it doesn't allow you to make individual decisions about individual projects. Where else would they put their gas station other than in the unused corner of their parking lot? So I have a series of questions. How much does the town have to give back to the JV Mall? Is it $793,000? That's what I calculate. Do the Lakeland schools have to give back 3.8? And what about the Mohegan Fire District? Can you show me one study or scholarly article in support of this policy? There never was in the original discussions. We haven't seen that. Why were the property taxes for Uncle Giuseppe's not raised when it was expanded? I've asked this question before. It seems to me it's because commercial property values are declining. So I pointed out in the budget hearing that our line item for legal expenses to defend against certs has tripled in the last 3 years. How many other tax certs are in the pipeline, and how much money will we have to get back? So, as I have said over and over again, the assessed value of retail and commercial space is declining rapidly because of oversupply. We have a plague of vacant stores, and demand is low in the 21st century. Let's change this policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ken Belfer. My apologies. I came in late, and I didn't hear if you announced the My Brother Vinny walk.
Did not. Thank
Okay,
you.
so then I will. My Brother Vinny's a great organization that serves veterans. I just checked their website, and they expect to be celebrating by Sunday, having served over 2,500 vets. But they do an annual fundraising walk. It's just off of Lexington Avenue, just above Route 202, and it's this Sunday from 11 to 2.
Thank you,
Thank
Ken.
you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Good evening, Sarah Wilson, resident of Yorktown Heights. Good evening, Supervisor Lachterman, members of the town board. Thank you again for proclaiming and recognizing the observance of Pride Month this month here in Yorktown. Thank you also for mentioning the activities that we'll be hosting here in Yorktown on Saturday, June 29th at our beautiful and historic Railroad Park. Our Pride Festival will run from noon to 4, featuring a unique variety of businesses, community groups, nonprofit organizations, and several of our faith organizations. Our performance schedule will feature our fabulous drag queens, the Westchester Spirited Drummers, other performers, LGBTQ and ally speakers. Our Pride March will step off from Railroad Park this year, loop through the center of town, and return to the park. We'll have lots of crafts and activities for young people. While we will not have any speeches by either elected officials or candidates, I know you're really disappointed, we certainly invite everyone to attend, all of you to attend. And lastly, we'd like to ask if a pride flag could be raised on June 29th here in town. It is common in many of our neighboring towns and villages, including Village of Croton, Village of Ossining, Town of Rye, Town of Newcastle, Town of Bedford, City of Yonkers, City of White Plains, City of Peekskill, Rockland County, Westchester County, etc. So thank you again for recognizing Pride, and hope to see many, if not all of you, on June 29th. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Good evening, Maura Gregory. This is a test to see if this is going to feed back. So far, so good.
Hi, Maura.
I want to second Susan Siegel's comments about the resolution for infrastructure improvements to the intersection at Route 118 and Underhill Avenue. And so I'm not going to repeat what she said, but I am concerned about there being a lack of a cap on the town's expenses, and I do agree that it is generally the responsibility of the developer to pay for these things. But I also have a question about the application to the WCIDA, which is the Westchester County Industrial Development Agency, and finding the obligations tied to the potential approval. This was the application for money for the improvements. Finding the obligations tied to the potential approval to be less desirable than originally planned at the adoption of the resolution. So that's rather vague, and I would like to know, what did you believe it would be? What were these obligations? What did they turn out to be? Mm-hmm. Who finds them to not be desirable? The town, Underhill, or both? Thank you.
Joanne Silic, Yorktown Heights. Good evening, members of the board.
Hi, Joanne.
And ladies and gentlemen. Hi. Okay, on a totally different topic. Regarding the proposed 254 units and recycling plant, otherwise known as a transfer station, on Route 6 near Whispering Pines. I'll be very short this evening. I have two questions. One, will there be a public hearing? If so, when? Also, what is the name of the developer and owner of the property?
Which property?
The
recycling
property
plant.
where
Two
they're
different
planning to build the 254 units and the recycling unit.
Okay, both properties.
Yes. Well, I would appreciate an answer this evening, please. Thank you. Told you it'd be short. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
Hi, Mark Lieberman, Wells Street. I want to thank you for the birthday wishes. Very kind. So my uncle was a navigator on a bomber during D-Day.
Wow.
And so he had some terrorizing stories to tell. But he survived, which is great. And so I want to thank you for the resolution, and I want to thank the fact that you have a moment of silence honoring our veterans every week when we have a meeting, because not everybody does that.
Thank you, Mark.
I appreciate it.
Yep. And the last thing is, which I didn't realize, you're now looking into cameras, body cameras for the police. And if you remember, a few years ago, there was the police study mandated by the state. And the committee recommended body cameras. And if I'm not mistaken, but as I celebrate more of these birthdays, I do forget, I'm under the impression that the chief said if you do body cameras, he has to add staff. And so my question is that the case? Are you going to add staff when you add body cameras? Thanks.
Excuse me. Dan Strauss, 58-year resident.
Hi, Dan.
Yorktown. Hi. We went through I guess a political cycle a few weeks ago, and there was talk about signs. Nothing changes. I've said it before. Welcome to Yorktown. Right in front of it is a Mike Lawler sign. That's wonderful. Whether I vote for him or not, it's wonderful. There's another sign in front of Welcome to Yorktown. It's an affront to the town, and it is a disgrace to the Purple Heart veterans, whose sign is right there. And nothing changes. Nothing. The cell tower. I thought those people would be back, but they're not. But the people here from Jefferson Village are here en masse because they don't want the 254 units. The cell tower is another encroachment on the environment. Just because you need cell service, you go ahead and just alienate the park just so that you can do it. I know there'll be a public hearing. Doesn't matter. Same thing. Nothing changes. I made a comment about voting block a few weeks ago. 6 years ago, in Jefferson Valley, they wanted apartments. People from Jefferson Village didn't want them, so we didn't get them. Underhill Farm, people didn't want them, but people were called liars. They were told, you have a political agenda, no good, you can't, it's got to go through. When they were going through, Ms. Howitt, maybe you don't remember it. No, I do. But nobody says anything when the people, the very nice people from Jefferson Village, don't want something. So, that's why nothing changes. If you want change, there are people who say they want change locally, then you have to get out and vote. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
Good evening. My name is Michael Kiernan. I'm from 2 Brianna Lane, Yorktown Heights.
Hi, Michael.
Hi. I'm here about the proposed 40,000 square foot A-Track recycling center to be built potentially at 76 Route 6. I learned about the project from the Zoning Board of Appeals signs that were posted on Route 6 near my home. And I attended that May 23rd meeting. It should be noted that the residents of Somers, which is the adjacent residential district, were not mailed any notifications from the applicant, A-Track. During that meeting, A-Track argued that it need not be concerned with our residential zone, as it believed it only needed to be compliant with Yorktown borders. That was and is disturbing. The adjacent residential zone consists of 85 families, homes, wetlands, a nature preserve, water supply lands, and of course, a nursery and stone supply. Our homes have Yorktown mailing addresses. Our children are educated in Lakeland schools, and many participate in YAC and SOAC programs amongst other community programs. Board, my neighbors and I are active members of the Yorktown community. There's a deep concern about the risk that this facility could pose to our families, wetlands, nature preserve, and water supply lands. These risks include health hazards, environmental pollution, odor, noise disturbances, decreased property values, and increased traffic congestion. Given these concerns, I'm pleading with you, the Yorktown Town Board, to reject this project. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I trust in your commitment to safeguard the interests of our community.
Amen.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor?
Come on up.
I see you, Michael.
Good evening. My name is Brian Sillick. I live in Jefferson Village, Yorktown Heights. Most of you know me. Ed Lockerman, supervisor. I have some questions on the 254 units. We don't have enough information. Is it going to be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom? Is it going to have a driveway, garage? Is there going to be a clubhouse? There's going to be a pool. Mixed use doesn't mean anything. What else is going in there? 254 units is a lot of units compared to being zoned for, what is it now? 2 acres, single family homes. So you'd have to do a rezoning or an overlay. The other question I have, there's a recycling plant also that's going in by Whispering Pines, the next road. Don't have enough information on that either. So I'd like to try and have the town board fill us in on these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so I think that there's a little misunderstanding in the processes that we have to follow. So there is no plan in for a 254 unit. There's a proposal that they need to go through a planning process. We're a gateway, and actually, Mr. Taggart, I see you looking down there. Could you come up, explain a little bit about the process that is involved? And I don't know if you're the one that maybe could even talk about the process with the recycling plant, the zoning allowances, and where that is as well. But
Yeah,
if
where
not,
we are in the process.
Okay.
Wait, I have a question. Recycling plant, correct?
Yes.
Nice name for a transfer station, correct?
Yeah, pretty name.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll get to this,
You can
Dave.
call it what you will. It is
I just hear it being referred to as recycling, and people think bottles and cans.
Well, it will.
Take a ride up Route 100 across from Lawton Adams and see what a
That's a
transfer
transfer,
station
yeah.
looks like.
Amen.
It will be household recycling as well.
As well.
That's the major part of it. A smaller percentage of it will be, much dirtier recycling in like construction containers, but that's a smaller percentage of the operation. Most of it will be devoted to what you would consider household recycling. So
Thank you.
it's a mix of stuff.
So do you want to start with that one since we're
okay.
on there already?
Okay. The process on it, is that where we're?
Yeah, so the zoning in the area that's been, and I don't remember what year that zoning went into effect.
2012.
2012.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so it is allowed in that zone, which is a light industrial zone. The Navajo Road uses there are all that type of use. The recycling plant, they call it, and that's what it's called in our code, was adopted in 2011 for that area. So a applicant has come forward and has proposed a site plan to put one of that type of use in there. They have been to the planning board 2 or 3 times So they're really in the first stages. They have some issues with some of their bulk requirements. So there was some interpretations that needed to be made at the zoning board. So they went through that recently. Eventually, it will probably come back to the planning board, I expect, before too soon. The planning board will continue its review and gathering information and asking for, reports on the impacts of what this type of use will, have on the area. That could be traffic impacts, of course, environmental impacts, noise, odor, etc. And at some point, if it continues to move forward, there will be a public hearing held. So, that's the basic process. There should also be a public informational hearing, which usually comes towards in the beginning of the process. So that would happen sooner than later. So,
and I do assume that from 2011, there have been some changes in the environmental impact studies and things that would be effective here that may or may not be onerous on this project happening.
Elaborate a little bit on.
Well, I assume the regulations have gotten tighter.
State regulations, as I understand, have gotten tighter.
Yes.
On particular on those uses. So,
right.
DEC regulates those quite closely. That doesn't mean that they're wonderful things to have in your neighborhood,
right.
but they are that type of industrial use. Also, just so everyone understands, there is a component of parking their fleet of trucks for residential garbage. So there will be an in and out traffic situation from that as well. The garbage will not come to that center. Only the trucks will be parked there. So the garbage goes to, I think it's Charles Point in Peekskill or wherever it is. So that's where all the household garbage goes to. That happens daily. Empty trucks come back and park there overnight. So just so everybody understands, that's also a component right now
and that needs to be studied through
of the proposal.
EIS, yeah.
Everything needs to be studied. There's a lot that needs to be looked at for that particular use. I'll tell you again that it really is in kind of the beginning stages, to the point that we're working through some zoning requirements of whether or not and how they actually apply. So, that's a first step type of stuff.
There will be, in addition to the transfer station, it's going to be a parking lot for garbage trucks. Is that what we're saying?
In their proposal.
That's one way of putting it, Sergio. Yes.
Oh no, that's the way I'm putting it.
That's the way I'm hearing it.
That's the way I'm putting it.
Yeah.
All right. So, but there's a process, and we need to see. I think that the important thing to realize is, as a town board, we're the gatekeeper of the process. Everyone has the right to go through.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be able to put their plan forward. That's why we have a planning department that has experts that work with these different studies all the time. And I think that's, it's imperative to let them do their due diligence, and that we honor the rights, and at least go through, like I said, go through the process and see where it leads us.
You're absolutely right, Ed.
Unfortunately, the zoning from 2011 sort of, not a lot of foresight into what could happen in that area, and it's the sins of the father, so to speak.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the proposed 254 unit. I do have one question for you. How often does someone come in with a proposed big number like that does not get addressed and knocked down?
No, it's common, very common. And the numbers are all over the place. It could be 250. Sometimes it could be 80 on another, but it's much smaller properties.
Right.
And
I
so you'll
remember.
see- yeah,
The project behind the Roma building is one that got knocked down.
that got knocked down a little bit. Yeah.
Yep, and so did Soundview. What was the Soundview original?
Once. Pick a number.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 164, but that's.
Okay. So this is a common thing also. There's the old saying of, shoot for the moon and hope you end up in orbit.
Happen?
Right. So what someone is going to propose to what planning and the process go through are much different, I think.
Correct.
So why don't we talk a little bit about that project, John?
Okay. That project is, as you said, it's a proposal right now on a property that is operating a commercial recreation set of fields on it. It is 250 or 254 units of multifamily residential. Access will be off both Navajo Road and East Main Street, Route 6N. That's the proposal. It needs to be sewered, and the proposal on that is to bring the sewer line all the way from the corner of Hill Boulevard and East Main Street and bring it up there. What they are asking for right now, someone was up here and talked about the zoning. They are correct. It's single-family zoning right now. So it will need to be rezoned, or some other zoning measure will need to be put in place in order to accommodate the project by this board. They have offered and proposed to use the overlay district that's in place to be part of that, and that would potentially accommodate the type of project that they're looking at. They have submitted some documentation about the impacts and the nature of the project. I believe that there's not enough yet, but the only step that's been taken so far is to declare lead agency for the actual zoning action, which would be to place this property into the overlay district. So that is a very early first step that's required under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So as the earlier project, this is in its first baby steps, really.
So explain the process, because there seems to be some confusion as to why there aren't a lot of details on the type of residential units that'll be there and that kind of stuff. When will that be borne out for the public? Just step us through the process.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
I know
so-
the process. I just would like for you to step.
So it's a two-part process to get the project approved, basically. One is to get the zoning in place, which is the overlay district, by this board. The second major portion would be a residential site plan done by the planning board. Okay, so different details come out in different parts of it. So in individual rezonings, oftentimes, first of all, it's a type 1. It's considered type 1 under SECRA, which means that it carries the likelihood of or that it may rise to need additional study. We already think this needs additional study. Most rezones that come in, the approach is that the applicant has to prove that the intended use can be supported on that piece of property, which means you need to look at details in terms of traffic, environmental impacts, wetlands, all of those things. So you guys, I think, will be looking at a lot of that. So a lot of detail will be coming forth in that regard. That's the most typical way. If you, for instance, allow it to go into the overlay district, it will then go to the planning board, where even more detail comes out about the size and nature of the buildings, where they're placed, the number of units, if you haven't dealt with or put a limit on the units yourselves, which you can, where the best place to ingress and egress from the property, what's the main access as opposed to the emergency or secondary access. All of those things are important. Whether or not it will support what the current use is at the same time of having those units, that may change. So there's a lot of things to work through. No one can really fully understand the project until you move through a lot of its detail and understand what those impacts are. And you start with, we're going to do 250 units, they're going to be placed here, and then you work out what those impacts might be. And there's scientific and known practiced ways to bring that forth. So,
And eventually it'll lead into a public hearing.
There will be a public hearing for your action, and there will be a public hearing for the planning board action, And I'll remind you that in the overlay district, if this goes forward into the overlay district, there is also another action that you take at the very beginning, which is evaluate the project and actually authorize the planning board to process it. So you have a two-part situation here as well. So
I just want to answer some of the questions that we received. That's why I'm asking.
of course.
Thank you.
So just to reiterate, it basically comes down to the process comes in, we turn around, we okay it, and then we hand it off to the planning board where you do a deeper dive and you're able to do a comprehensive plan of that whole area, including, streetscape, sewer, environmental impact, business impact. So that all gets flushed out later on.
Well, you're going to do a pretty deep dive as well.
Yes, we will.
Don't forget that. And you can take that deep dive as to whatever extent that you feel is pertinent.
We're just trying to answer some of the questions because this is the first time a lot of people are hearing of this. So I'm just trying to, this is not a done deal. This is starts the process.
So just hold on. I also want to make it very.
Okay.
I also want to make it very clear that although we're starting the process, that doesn't mean we're going for the project. So let's get very clear with that as well. We still have to make those decisions, just because it almost sounds like we're already ahead of the.
We're not, and we're
No,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry,
you
and
go on TV.
we Luciana, we can't have a conversation across.
Okay, I want to make it clear that.
No, I know.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's all I want to make clear. It's not a
Yep.
yes, even though there's 800 steps.
All right, Ed, take over.
All right. Well, I'm gonna move up. We'll talk a little bit about the alienation. We don't alienate anything.
Thank you.
Alienations
Thank
go.
you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Alienations go before the state. That's the Senate and the Assembly. Once again, gateway to a process. There are federal laws in place that prevent us from just saying no to utility companies on cell towers. Cell towers are deemed a public service. Is there anyone in this room that does not own a cell phone? Right. So, you know what? There are people that do not have cell service. We don't use shortwave radios anymore in our police cars, so our police department even relies on cell service at times. So there are a lot of safety issues. That's why the federal government protects through these. Now, my plan is there have been changes. There have been, I believe it's, for Homeland Towers, there were seven meetings where they were discussed in the town boardroom. There was also one in the planning board when it went out for referral. So this has been on the books since, John, am I correct, 2018 or 16? 15. 2018. There was an area study done that was done by an independent company, done for all of northern Westchester. My plan is to make sure from an educational point of view, and so everyone has the facts because it's so long ago, that company comes back in, that they do a presentation on the cell tower shortages. But I also would like an outside expert, and Adam Rodriguez is looking for that, who could come in and talk to us about changes in the technology, the safety of the towers, because, look, there's fact and fiction. We all know that. Everyone has their opinions. We need to get facts, so we will do that. They have to have a public hearing on wetlands, wetland mitigation. There's a lot of process left to go for them as well. It's nothing that's being rushed. There have been all these, people who find out about it all of a sudden. Doesn't mean it hasn't been there for a long time. And we've been getting a lot of that comment. But please trust me when I say there's a lot of process left. And it's something that we will make sure that process bears out properly.
It's also critical, vitally important for all of us to understand that, this is there's a very, 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 very strong headwinds from the federal government. We didn't pick the site. We didn't say, let's put a cell tower here on Granite Springs Road. We didn't pick that site. That site was picked by not us. And so, we're just trying to get through the process and get it done right, dispel whatever misconceptions there may be, And Ed, you're on the right track. I mean, get an expert in here. Let's see what they have to say. Let's get somebody that's independent, that the town's bringing in, as opposed to somebody from Homeland Towers. Let's get them back in there. I mean,
That's a plan, and we will. Look, that's the utmost urgency in getting that information out. We don't even know if it's going to go through committee and be alienated. And if it doesn't, then it's not till next June. And the one thing that worries me is that this information is so old out there, we don't remember it. We could ask Susan for her notes. She'll probably have good notes on it. But you know what? It's other than that, where do we go? So we will re-educate. We will get that information out there, and we'll be able to take whatever decisions our town board can take. But please remember, it is a federal regulation, and we get handcuffed a little bit by that. We can't talk, Charlie. Sorry. I will talk to building about the signs. I have noticed a lot more signs out lately. I'm not sure why. It's not just political signs, although I know who's running for district attorney, and I know who's running for Congress, and one presidential. The sign that I've seen often, but we'll take a look. So let's see. The traffic cams, we did actually add a new lieutenant, and that's what the extra body is. So body cams require additional. They require additional labor to go through and process. That you have to be able to view it. You have to be trained properly. It's the same thing with like red light cameras, with school bus cameras. There's a lot of work involved, and you end up with an administrative. Have a good evening, ladies. You end up with an administrative lieutenant who has to handle that, and we have made that change. But we did also, I believe, give back a position to create the promotion. So where it won't cost us as much, there is a cost involved. The body cams, I believe, was ARPA money put aside, Susan, although we may be using some of the grant that was received. That grant was awarded to us, the Justice Grant, and great work by Tim Kochman on that, one of our lieutenants, some of the work that they do. He was able to get us, we'll have to look at the number, but I think it was $536,000 grant.
Yeah, it was a considerable amount.
Yes. So the body cams, and that did come out of that meeting. That's something that the people of the town wanted. Our police department takes the town very seriously. They do a great job for us, and they made sure that this happened. There was a lot of legwork done to get this. Not only the grant money that they got, but to go through the whole body cam. There were negotiations. This started back in 2020 or 2021, and we finally got it over the finish line. So very happy about that. I think it makes everyone safer. There is $13,000 being requested for a grant application. So we were doing the grant application for this Hilux Mills Sewer District. The state required more information from the original reports that were done a few years back, and that's where that money is. If Dan, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Evening. So the report we're updating, there was the original report, I believe, from like 2018, where we had a different consultant on board, and we did the original Halleck's Mill, which was around 650 homes. So after that, we pared the number down because it was going to be too expensive, and we wanted to leverage the $10 million. So now we're at a place where that was one of the comments on last year's grant application, that our report was out of date. So we're updating the report, and we're updating it on back to the 650 with the hope that with additional funding, we can revisit the complete
project.
The complete project at around 650. So we've got our congressional grant we're working on, as well as the EFC grant. So depending upon what outside funding we get, we'll come up with a new report and hopefully present to the public again to try and establish the Halleck's Mill Sewer District.
Yep. So I'll add in that the project had stalled when it was held up by Board of Health on some different issues. I think the pumps were one of the major issues that they were going back and forth with on who pays for them, meaning if you had to have a sewer ejector pump, they're fairly expensive, and the Board of Health wanted us to not only supply them for residents but have a supply of backups, which added a lot to the cost. So there were a lot of cost additives in there and delays, and then of course COVID, and then of course as someone mentioned, inflation. So those numbers went haywire. So we're trying for an additional grant from the federal government. We have our grant writer working on it. We also are updating the reports to make sure they're accurate, and hopefully could bring this one across the finish line. It's one of the things I'd really, really love to see happen in my lifetime.
Right, and part of what they're doing is updating the construction cost estimate.
Right.
So we have a fresh cost estimate that's defendable, that can be both part of our grant application and part of our procedure to establish the district.
And I believe Kayla in your office was doing a lot of work with that as well, with the GIS on that, and
Right.
making sure
Mapping
everything's
which
coordinated,
parcels are
mapped.
coming in, and, right.
Yeah. So a lot of extra work needed to happen, and we're really working that through. So thank you on that, Dan.
Thank you.
Let me see if there was. Don't go anywhere, Dan. Let me see if there was anything, because I know you were in the DOT meeting. John was too, but he's pretending to look at his phone. Let's talk a little bit about the DOT. So first, I want to say the traffic mitigation. We've been talking about Underhill Street 118 way before there was ever a Underhill Street a Soundview project. There was a question with the IDA where the contractor tried to get it. They were not happy. So I interceded. I spoke to George Latimer. He told me that people would, if I contacted him, I sent him an email to his personal email to make sure he got it. He was copied in it. His people have not gotten back to our town attorney. Over 6 emails. They've not gotten back to us. And DOT has sent us a letter saying, we will not do it even though it is a dangerous intersection. And I think we could have Dave talk about that in a couple of minutes. So we'll talk about it when we get to the resolution, Dave. So the decision was based on, as someone pointed out, maybe don't give a tax break, don't give a tax cut, don't give a tax rebate. And the way the road was going to go was that there was always a cap by the contractor for part of the road. We wanted above and beyond what they were required to do. There were actually 3 phases. What they were required to do for their project, what we should have at a minimum if some of the other projects went through. And then there's the Grand Lux project, which would be an amazing job. Well, with the IDA not getting back, not wanting to talk, not wanting to help work with it, I decided to try to talk to the board today with our meeting, and we're getting a lot of this information now, so maybe it'll shorten the discussion later. Is the safety more important than getting it back to put it out front? And that's really what we're looking at. This past Sunday, we had a huge water main break.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to be talking to a gentleman who's not only his wife, his daughter, his son, and his neighbor's wife were squeegeeing water out of his driveway because a 12-inch main went right in front of his house. He wasn't doing anything. And I was joking with him. And I'm like, oh, what are you, white collar? He said, well, actually, I'm a teacher. But he actually worked right near where I worked, where I ended up with 6 herniated discs. Mine was a little different. He ended up with a bunch of disc herniations because he was coming home on Underhill. And as he got to the top, traffic was backed up because of the delay at the light. And a car came right behind him. Bam. And he ended up with a bunch of disc herniations. He's been out of work 6 months. and can't do anything. This is not unique. How many accidents have we had on Underhill? And if you look at the intersection, it might not be as great as the rest of the road, but the intersection causes a backup. The projection for the second part of the job will shorten the time on the road by 80%. Because it'll give you 2 full lanes to turn. We'll end up with traffic moving through a lot quicker and not having the buildup. So we have a healthy fund balance that shouldn't be put aside as a savings account. We have a very dangerous intersection. There was a plan that would have the applicant do the job and then get a tax abatement back through the IDA, which would be great, but it's not happening. So do we say, let's get it done for the safety of the people of Yorktown, or do we just let it sit on the side? And I think that's a decision that my board is going to have to make today, and we're going to have, we're going to have to look at it. But traffic safety is huge. How many road shutdowns have we had this week alone on accidents, Bob? Quite a few. There was 202 the other day over by the Gregorian Church, the former temple. 118 last night. There are a lot of accidents. We need to try to make our citizens safe, and that is our number one. Oh, you want to come up, Rob? Yeah, we have a traffic safety officer here today, so.
Just before he says anything, the fact of the matter is that I know somebody said it's standard practice for a builder. The builder has that phase one where he can mitigate or will mitigate the amount of traffic that he's putting into the intersection. But the problem is that intersection is also part of our responsibility because it's so dangerous. It's not like we're trying to throw money into an intersection that's wonderful right now. That thing has been I got into an accident on that intersection. Okay, I mean, that intersection is I almost got into an accident coming past Town Hall. I'm trying to make a left. Somebody's coming down Underhill trying to make a left, and we end up in the middle of this intersection. We're like nose to nose. It's a very dangerous intersection. And to say that, the town doesn't have any responsibility toward the maintenance and repair of that intersection or making it safer is ridiculous. Bob.
Yeah, so just to circle back, I know Dave was talking about the speed limits getting lowered in that area, and then Supervisor Lachman was talking about, that gentleman getting rear-ended. But the reason why we're trying to lower the speed limit in the Overhill area to 30 is because of that blind hill. As you come over the hill coming towards town, you can't see traffic stop until you get up and over that crest. So people are doing 40 there, and they don't have time to react. So that's why we're trying to reduce the speed limit there, and that's why we asked the board to do that. And like you said, that will hopefully reduce the amount of reaction time and stopping distance that people can get to a safe stop without getting rear-ended in that area.
Right.
All right, so hopefully the traffic mitigation that you guys are planning to do will help that as well. Also on 118, people are using that breakdown lane or the shoulder there to make the right-hand turn. So it's kind of a mess. And
Yeah.
I know that project, they were planning on making a dedicated turning lane there, which will somewhat help a lot of that traffic and stuff like that. But so yes, reducing the speed limits in that area and, making a dedicated turning lane on Underhill will hopefully reduce the amount of backup so it doesn't get close to that blind hill, so we won't have as many rear-end accidents in that area. So I just wanted to...
Also, the way the light is going to be programmed, making the right-hand turn onto Underhill from 118, which is very dangerous. People are using the shoulder as a second lane.
Yes.
There'll be a turning lane there.
Exactly.
And so,
The major issue for that area is getting people off Underhill Ave as they come into town. If you can get people away from that hill crest as fast as possible and not have it back up to right after that hill crest, that's where you're going to get rid of a lot of those accidents.
And that's what this is.
And that's
To
what
try
they're
to move
proposing
this
to do.
through.
But
Move the traffic through Underhill.
to my last point, the road isn't even symmetrical, right? I mean, you come up Underhill,
It like
right?
nibbles
You
out.
come up past Town Hall with Town Hall on your left, and it's if you continue through the light and onto Underhill, it kind of shifts. The whole road shifts. It's like a lane shift on a highway. When you're coming in, they got all these millions of signs: lane shift ahead, lane shift ahead, because it creates a very dangerous situation. You know, we were considering doing the second phase and then doing a tax abatement. This is along the same lines. The abatement will not happen, and the applicant will be paying their full share of their taxes from day one. Right? When everything starts to come online, they're going to be paying. There won't be any abatement.
There won't be money being given back for the road repair that they laid out.
Which is things that people have said here today. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Rob.
And then Dan, DOT plans. I know you were in on that meeting. My memory is a little sketchy. I know we saw the lighting plan, the crosswalks, and all that, but I thought they were pretty much in and costed through DOT. Correct?
You're talking about for Underhill?
For Underhill, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, DOT has been, I don't think we got the final sign-off from them, but after that meeting, I think some of the, most of the issues are shook out, and, it's really, I think at this point, minor tweaks. I think the overall concept is a go, and it's just some of the, getting in the weeds with DOT stuff.
And because it is DOT, we have to be the applicant, correct?
I don't know that we decided how we're doing that yet.
I thought that was what
I
the
know
DOT
that there's
said.
pole relocations that we'll be working with. So I guess I really haven't resolved the nuts and bolts of the application, but I'll be working with their traffic consultants to make sure everything.
To do it as clean as possible with
Yeah,
DOT.
check on that, because I believe the DOT guys said that we had to be the applicant
Okay.
in
Yeah,
question.
which is fine.
John,
They
do
want us to
you
have
remember
skin
with a nod? Do you remember if DOT said we had to be the applicant? You don't remember? Okay. It sort of perked in my ear when he said that. So.
I just want to make another point that I think's important about this, and that is that, the applicant, through the seeker process, has a requirement to mitigate the impact that they cause. So this additional spending, you got to look at it through the prism. If he never showed up, we're all in agreement. We have a bad situation over there.
Amen.
So, he's contributing to it, and he's going to, mitigate it. But I think
The above and
the
beyond.
criticism, I think, will always be, well, why is the town helping the developer? The town is helping itself and we're leveraging the developer's contribution
Correct.
to get
To do so.
a big problem fixed.
Right.
Excellent.
I agree with
Thank you,
that.
Dan.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, and then
Last year, I had to move traffic there because of the Underhill
Larry's.
accident. Do you remember that?
yeah,
Larry's.
yeah, I know.
Taxes.
Yeah, yep.
No,
So-
me in the middle of the road.
No, I remember.
I know.
Yeah.
There was a huge accident. I had to run out of the Grace Building, and I had to direct traffic.
So the last thing we'll talk about is the tax exemptions and certiaries and the mall. The mall went through a bankruptcy. The company that owned
Oh
them.
yeah.
And
They weren't paying
the
anybody.
court was in the bankruptcy court was in their home state of Texas. So the laws in Texas a little different than New York. We actually, I think we won in that deal from assessments. But yes, assessments have gone down. I believe our tax assessor has just finished the new rolls, our new tax assessor, Gary. So, that's part of the process. Property values change. They go up and down. Now things are starting to go up again. And we're hoping that keeps moving, because that helps everyone as those assessments go up. The certiorari money, though, if I'm not mistaken, certiorari's are not only commercial, they're residential. And a lot of people have gone for certiorari's on their residential. Everyone, I'm sure, gets their little card in the mail saying, hey,
You want to
we'll get you a reduction. So that's why those costs go up. And some years are down, some years are up. I would expect them to go up again as the assessments come out, because people are going to challenge their assessment. That's one of your rights to do, and we're not going to sit here and say, don't do it. It's part of the process. It's a budgeted item, and everyone has the right to exercise that right.
And I mean, I guess maybe I'm just going to piggyback on what you're saying in more of a basic form. because they went into bankruptcy, there was no money coming through. And then to fight with the lawyers in Texas was costing us a ton of money. And that's not just us, that's us as a town. So coming up with a happy medium to get a what Texas thought our value was and what we were, while we have a sitting duck that nothing's happened to, it actually was a win because we stopped bleeding money and fighting a number, and they actually came closer to the assessed number that we decided over the time. So, I mean, this is just,
and not only that, but we had to pay a attorney who was licensed in
Going back
the
and
great
forth.
state of Texas. So we couldn't send someone out there. It might have actually been cheaper to send someone to live out there for a month, but then this is the world, and that is we had to make the best decisions for the town, and I think that
No,
I think our attorneys did a great job.
He did a great job. And then also he was able to give us all the dollars that came up. And when we came as close as possible, it was time to just stop the bleeding in any possible way. But I do understand that the public doesn't see that stuff, right? So we don't see that. We don't see the gain of Underhill paying taxes immediately. We don't see that. Nobody wants to do work with someone unless you have skin in the game.
Some people see it, but
No,
and some
but
people
not
don't.
everyone
so-
understands it.
Right. Well, look, not everyone sitting here understands everything we talk about, and that's why we
I
do
know.
this. That's why we have the meetings.
I don't understand everything, and I'm over here.
So-
I got to ask a lot of questions.
All right.
Just had one more comment for Michael, our friends in Somers.
Oh yes.
We are, keenly aware of Somers. We love you guys. We want to be good neighbors. We want you to be good neighbors to us. I think over the years, we've all worked together in a very great fashion. I think it's incredibly distasteful for somebody to suggest that we ignore our neighbors. It's more than distasteful. And we are keenly aware of your neighborhood as well.
And I will tell you that our planning board and zoning board agreed with that. That's what caused a lot of their issues in having to go there. And I will let you know that immediately I was on the phone with Rob Scarano, talking to him. He submitted a letter for the zoning board.
Yeah, he did.
And we will keep Rob in the process and make sure that the residents of Somers have representation as well. I was at that meeting where they suggested that they did not have to do anything about Somers, and Sergio's right. It was the most distasteful thing I ever heard. It was obnoxious, and personally, I'd look for a new attorney because it was their attorney who said that, and I thought that was disgusting. I'll put it on the record. So that being said, we will keep them. We also are looking at battery storage as a Northern Westchester group. We will be reopening our moratorium on large-scale solar, and we will probably be talking about the battery battery packs as well. So these are problems that are people are trying to become ecologically friendly with adverse effects.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be a happy medium somewhere. And to get on my soapbox, I'll implore that our federal government looks at things. Let's have a plan. Let's not just throw something out there and then figure it out afterwards. I had an interesting conversation with fire safety last night. We were there till 9 in the evening talking about Tesla car fires, the electric car batteries when they go, and the damage. And they say let it burn. And what you're supposed to do with the car, it gets towed and left 50 feet from any other vehicle.
Oh my God.
What yard has 50 feet of space for everyone? There are some definite issues there. And, meanwhile, the push is for all electric cars. But what happens when they say, let that car burn for 12 hours, keep the road closed? It doesn't matter to everyone else. And then, by the way, I'm sure the insurance companies have figured out a way that they are not responsible for the damage that car did to our roadway when it melted the asphalt. And there are potholes bigger than Texas there. And the pipes underneath are all burst and cracked and breaking and brittle. So there are a lot of issues with it. And it's the challenges before everyone as a town, as a state, as a country, as a world, you know, there has to be a lot more thought process in some of this. And, you know, look, I have solar power. I believe in it, but there are going to be issues, and we need to work through them.
I actually just bought a hybrid, so
Yes.
I'm there with you. Mike, we continue to invite you and all your friends
Somers.
from Somers to come here and really speak your voice, okay? I mean, it's important, and you need to be heard.
Thank you.
We heard you, though.
All right, so we're going to jump to resolutions.
Okay.
From the building department, authorize the town clerk to advertise a bid for the building department to purchase a used vehicle. From the building and maintenance department, award a bid for the modernization of the elevator at the Albert A. Capellini Community and Cultural Center to Taconic Elevator Company, and authorize control of the process of budget transfer in the amount of $92,750 for the building and maintenance department. That is to replace all of the electronics of the elevator in the Albert A. Capellini Community and Cultural Center. We cannot replace the box. They don't make them that small anymore. But we're going to replace all the electronics and stop this, you know, 10,000 here, 15,000 there, repair work that just doesn't work.
Doesn't end.
Yeah, and it's much safer for our seniors and kids that use that building on a regular basis. We're going to, from the engineering department, authorize the controller to release the erosion control bond in the amount of $250 for work completed at 3765 Cranberry Lane. Authorize the supervisor to sign a letter of authorization with EDR to update the 2018 Halleck's Mills report for the cost of $13,000, and authorize the comptroller to process a budget transfer. Authorize the purchase of a Ford F-250 pickup, and authorize controller to process the following budget transfer for the sewer department in the amount of $59,002.61 as enumerated in there. From the highway department. Do we have to give you anything?
I was wondering why he was here.
No, he's here for the last. Extend the bid for the street and traffic sign for the highway department. From Parks and Rec, authorize the purchase of one Ford F-250 regular cab pickup truck for the Parks and Recreation Department, and authorize the comptroller to process a budget transfer as enumerated. From the police department, authorize the supervisor to enter into a 60-month agreement to purchase body-worn cameras, cloud storage, and tasers at a cost of $478,495.90. Authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the police department. As enumerated, general fund balance $478,495.90, and law enforcement police equipment $478,495.90. Authorize the supervisor to execute all paperwork and agreements necessary to effectuate the grant award from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services under the New York State Law Enforcement Technology LETECH program in the amount of $539,000. All right, we're going to put this off to have discussion. From the water department, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with H2M Architects and Engineers for professional engineering services for the water district's main water extensions on Brook Lane, Cecil Drive, and Deerhaunt Street in the amount of $14,900. That's to eliminate several dead-end water pipes that, when you have a dead end, they build up sediment. That sediment hammers, that sediment backs up. I know, Mark, I think you had brought up something at a meeting about the water main breaks at one point. This is one of the things that'll cause some of those when you have the dead ends. And then it also affects your water pressure, which in a fire can be very, very dangerous. So can I have a motion on those?
Did you have, hold on, before, did we have to read in, or was that in there already for the building department that we spoke about?
It's in there.
It was in there?
Diana fixed
You
the
added?
agenda for me.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now let's talk about authorizing expenditure 543-3244 for the infrastructure improvements to the intersection at 118 and Underhill Avenue. David,
Yes, sir.
you want to talk a little bit about that intersection? I know we heard some from
Yeah, I want to
Robbie
give
already.
John Tegeter a shout out. Sent me over a beautiful set of plans, 50 sheets. I could, with a magnifying glass, I was pretty good at seeing it. I wanted back the magnifying glass. Well, so I called him and I said, look, John, pretend you're sending this to my 6-year-old grandson. All right, laid out real simple.
He drew it out in crayon?
He did draw it in crayon. As a matter of fact, there it is.
Oh,
in
wow.
Crayon. Thank you, John. So, just so everybody understands what's going on with this intersection. Okay, northbound on 118, nothing changes. Okay, southbound on 118, the fog line, which delineates the breakdown lane, to Officer Rohr's point, is going to the double yellow line is going to be scrubbed and moved about 3 or 4 feet because it's wider on the northbound side of 118, and the fog line is going to disappear. There'll be a dedicated turn lane. So as you're coming south on 118, there'll be a new lane to turn right onto Underhill rather than get backed up behind the cars. Also, coming from Town Hall. Wait, let me look at my diagram. Hold on a minute. So, coming from Town Hall this way, when you hit 118, there'll be a left-hand turn lane. Okay, and there'll be a straight and a right-hand turn lane. Right, John? I'm good so far? The crayons did very well. If you're coming towards town, okay, the island is going to go away. Get a little island where you'd go to the right to go south on 118. And there's going to be a straight and right-hand turn lane, and there's going to be another lane. So what's happening is, other than northbound, the other lane would be a left turn only, heading north from Underhill onto 118. So what's happening in essence is a lane is getting added at 3 of the 4 points in this intersection, with the exception of heading northbound on 118. Why is that important? Personally, my feeling is the majority of accidents that occur out there occur while turns are being made, with the exception of someone who got rear-ended, while they were stopped at the light. That's a whole different entity. But I think that certainly, I can't tell you how to spend the money. That's your decision. But my feeling is, if we could make that intersection safer and save one life, okay, what is one life worth? That's my feeling. So, I endorse the expenditure, and I believe it will make the intersection safer.
I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you.
And more efficient.
Well, safer and more efficient, sure.
So, any other comments?
I mean, look, I
know you had the accident there already.
No. Aside from that, like I said, I mean, we were looking at some kind of an abatement anyway. This is sans abatement. There won't be an abatement. We're going to put this up. We do have a responsibility, the town's responsibility for that intersection, and like Dan Ciarcia put it, the applicant has a responsibility to mitigate what they're going to pour into the intersection, and they have in phase 1. We're talking about phase 2. So if we just want to stay with phase 1, then the intersection stays the way it is. The applicant mitigates what they put into the intersection, and people still crash. I'm ready.
I would
Let me comment on that real quick. You also now are in a written notice scenario. Now you've proposed these improvements. You don't okay these improvements now. And God forbid there's a fatality at that intersection. The town could very easily be on the hook for that money.
And I will say that if phase 3 were an opportunity without having to go back before New York State DOT and spend a year in the process, I would push for that, because I believe in the safety of that intersection, and I believe in having a safe environment for our citizens driving the road. So it is something that I, live and die by the sword on this. I strongly
Safety is
believe that.
paramount.
It is.
It
It
is
is
paramount in this situation.
And as Dave said,
That's it.
any life, and then when it's someone you know, that's even more. Lou, any comments or?
No, I said it. I'm all about having a little skin in the game,
Mhm.
and I also think that this is our responsibility. We can leverage off the developer for what he's done, but at the end of the day, these are our constituents, and we're a big family, and there's a lot of young drivers on the. There's so many cars in everyone's lots these days that to make it more efficient is necessary.
So do we want to bring this to a vote today?
Yes.
All right. Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
One thing left to do, but
No, I don't see anything else. We just sit here
Yeah.
for the night.
Adjourn.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Yorktown.
Good night.
Night,
Yes.
Yorktown.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight.